Bonnie, shout out to you. Hope all is well. You know, oh man, I'm sleepy, but you know, we up on this morning, getting a nice workout in. You know, most part. Oh man. Hope everybody doing well. You know, I'm tired though, but we here. We here. Mm. I'd rather be in bed though. I'd rather be in bed. What up, what up, what up? What up, 10 ninjas? You working out? You working in the heat? What up, T Wood? What up to Gino P? Shout out to you. Hope all is well. Appreciate the support. 11 months. Gino P. Shout out to everybody, man, who's gonna join the live now in the middle. And those who wanna catch it when I upload to YouTube, man. What up with Chanel Austin? I'm still sleepy. But man, you know, you gotta get up and work out on a day off for the most part. You know, hope everybody's doing well this morning. Those who are at work, those who are, you know, in the gym or home in bed. You know, get up like me. You said, is that an Amazon brand shirt? Amazon brand? I don't know about that. I don't know about an Amazon brand. I forgot where I got this from. You know what I mean? But I don't remember this being an Amazon brand shirt. You know, I forgot where I bought it from. What's up to Corinda? Shout out to you. You said catching this from the home office. Did I get it from Amazon? I'm not sure. I can't remember. It might have been Amazon, might have been Walmart. I don't know. Can't remember. You know what I mean? Somebody might have got it from me. I don't know. You know, he said greetings, family, screen recorders. Screen recorders. Screen recorders. Nice little light workout. Nothing heavy. He said, I am chaperoning a zoo field trip for my son this month. A zoo? I don't like zoos. No. Uh-uh. I don't like no zoos. No way. I don't like no zoos. I can't stand zoos. You know what I mean? You never know what's on the mind of those employees. You know, letting those lions out, them tigers out. I do not like no zoos. I'll go to one, but you know what I mean? I don't like zoos at all. Can't stand them. The kids like zoos, but I don't like them. What's up to Cali boy? Chanel Austin says, wow, I just got through working out myself. Wonderful. I don't feel like working out this morning. I'm tired. You know what I mean? Tired. What's up to Latrice? Shout out to you. Shout out to Bonnie. You know, just like work out. Nice and light. Nice and light, nice and light. Nothing hard, nice and easy. You know, I know somebody asked a question about should women box? Well, it's great for working out purposes. I would say that. You know, absolutely. What's up to Jared? Shout out to you. He said zoos are the wave. Nah, I don't like no zoos. You know, they got like an outdoor zoo in somewhere in North Carolina. You know, some people go in them zoos where as though they riding vehicles. I ain't doing that. Corinna says I'm just going to avoid the snakes. I don't like looking at them. He said, stay away from the monkeys at the zoo. Well, I'm trying to stay away from the zoos in general. But like I said, if the kids want to go, that'll be the day. Listen, may the Lord forgive me. Yeah, man, I gotta bring something with me. You know, them outdoor zoos, nuh-uh. No way. I can't deal with something like that. You know? Alright, what's up to Bonnie? Shout out to you.
Bonnie.
What's up, man? I said you better register those hands. That's not the case of that. You know? You says, are you near the flood? I'm not sure there's any floods out there in North Carolina. You know, I don't know about any floods or anything like that. You know? Sort of floods out there in Texas. You know, it's pretty bad out there in Texas and New Mexico. I think I was watching videos about that type of stuff, man, and just crazy out there in Texas. You know, it's a crazy situation out there in Texas and New Mexico. You know, they really going through it for sure out there. You know, it kind of reminds me of like, in the sense of when Sandy happened. You know, I'm pretty sure Gino P, Bonnie, you know, you're from the New York area. We from the tri-state area. When Sandy happened, you know, it's pretty bad. You know what I mean? Especially being without electricity for weeks, low on food. Gas stations was closed or they ran out of fuel. You know what I mean? It just was a bad timing. You know what I mean? When Sandy happened, for the most part, man. And I can imagine what them people are going through right now. Sandy, man. Whew, I didn't like it. You understand? But, you know, thanks be to God that we got through that. You know what I mean? For sure. You know, what's up with Tyrone? Shout out to you. Hope all is well. You said trolling at 8 a.m. is wild. Some people come on here in some parts of the world, it's like 8 p.m. where they at, 12 p.m. But if they trolling at 8 a.m. in the morning, it is crazy. You know what I mean? So I'm just gonna move to the bikes. I wanna go on the bikes really quick. trying to fix this right fast, man. Nice and easy. Oh, you like this angle? We're just gonna keep it like this for holiness purposes. You know. It's so sad. He says, Corinna says, prayer for those families who lost loved ones in the Texas flood. What up, Dwayne Smith? He says, the Tony Harvin workout must be covered up, no short sleeve or shorts. Well, I don't know about my rules, you know, but I don't like to look enticing. You know what I mean? I do wear short sleeve, I do wear t-shirts. Because it's for health purposes, you know, for the most part. You know what I mean? You gotta get that coolness to the body. You don't wanna risk yourself of heat stroke. You know what I mean? Or anything like that, for the most part. You know, if you're working out alone like me, you understand, like there's nobody here and you know, you're not on camera or whatever the case may be, hey, by all means, you can work out, you know, with no shirt on if you're in your own privacy, you know. But me personally, I like to be covered up. It's recommended for thin. You know, if you're wearing like thin attire, thin, you know what I mean, versus heavy, cool. You understand? Corinda says, I wish my apartment complex had a gym like that. I tried to do at-home workouts in the evenings. Well, yeah, there's a gym here at this complex. You know, we got some workouts at home, and I attend 2 other gyms too. You know what I mean? So it's a blessing. You said Tony's covered up. Wow. Who would have thought it'd be a day like this? You know what I mean? Whereas though you really gotta watch what you put on in these days. Wow. You know what I mean? Every little thing counts. You know what I mean? For surety. You know? Shout out to Wayne Smith. What up, Smith? T. Wood says hurricane floods that came up that way. Oh, I haven't heard of any floods coming up by North Carolina. You know what I mean? Haven't heard. You know what I mean? But if there are floods, you know what I mean, much prayers to them people. For sure. You know what I mean? Let me see where we at. Smith, man. Shout out to Smith. New York. Another New Yorker. There's a few New Yorkers on here, man. You know, shout out to the East Coast. For sure. You know what I mean? Smith, you at work? What you doing, Smith, man? You working out? What you doing? You know? Let us know. Yeah, man. I think we got a pinned message up there at Latrice, Jamaica, Queens. Jamaica. And that's where 50 Cent from, Jamaica Queens. Run DMC and all them. You say you working always. Hey man, that's cool. You know what I mean? Yeah. Glad my busy season is over. You know what I mean? It was crazy hours. You know, I gotta enjoy these low downtime as much as I can before it picks up again. What's up to Emma? You say you from Arizona? You say you're going to Bermuda. Nice vacay for sure. You know what I mean? Ohio. Ohio got some good boxers out there. You said you grew up with 50 Cent, called him Boo Boo. Yeah, you heard of that. 50 Cent, Bangum Smurf. Who else is out there? Dominatrix. Didn't they deport Bangum Smurf back to Trinidad? Wayne Smith says, I bring y'all back some pink sand. Pink sand. I never heard of nothing like that. Pink sand. Right? I'm still trying to wake up, man. Yeah. You're right, you got some trolls early in the morning, man. Wow. Who said Lloyd Banks? Latrice, she says R. Kelly. What about R. Kelly? Do I drink coffee? Nah. Never had it before. Never had it. You know what I mean? I mean, some people drink coffee every day, all day. You know? Not here. Yeah, man. He says, what you got going on in the Bayfield for the third quarter of the year? Well, nothing in reference to debates. Yeah, man. Nothing in reference to debates. Although I think Patrick T had a good subject for a conversation. I forgot what it was, but it was pretty decent. But he wanted to come on here and give like a 45-minute presentation, man. Yeah, man, nah. No. Good topic, but stipulations, no. Corinna says, I have 1 cup each morning. Well, I mean, I don't really know what coffee does, you know, to people, give them energy, but man, some people drink it all day, every day. Yeah, absolutely. Too long, man. Yeah, I mean, giving a 45-minute presentation, that's parallel to him teaching. You know what I mean? We could have a conversation about some things, but, you know. But, you know, People still talking about the Son of God, Trinity and all that other stuff, man. Like, that stuff is, fries my brain out. Keep talking about that stuff all the time, you know. I mean, who knows? Maybe one day I will try some coffee. Maybe, you know. Some of y'all go to Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah, man. She laughing. All right. Well, you said please block the trolls. See, I'm on my mobile, and yeah, there you go, right there. My computer got more features on there. There it is. All right. Smith says I got iced coffee. You said get iced coffee. Iced coffee? Yeah. That's almost like saying get ice hot chocolate, right? Latrice, it's no flirting on here. You know what I mean? I understand the compliment, but you know. Pretty sure there's some other bachelors on here for you. Bonnie says mushroom coffee. It has very little caffeine and it's very healthy. I've heard of mushroom coffee before. Yo, y'all funny. Yeah, it's so funny this morning. The trolls is funny. I just thought I'd come on here just for a nice, decent, light workout. Have a conversation with the people, you know. You said I just flew in from the coast and boy, my arm's tired now. I don't know what you're talking about. Whatever that means. I mean, compliments are okay, to make to people. You know what I mean? You didn't say anything like crazy, but you said it like more than one time. That's fine. People compliment you, you know what I'm saying? And I think we had a conversation yesterday in a sense, last night. You know what I mean? It would be another conversation about another good topic I would say is just in general compliments. Is it okay to compliment somebody just because if you're in the church? If it's innocent, fine. You know what I mean? But when it comes to lusting, you know what I mean, or really just thirsting after somebody, I think that's a difference. You know what I mean? You said you should know the conversation always goes left. Yeah, it's the internet. It's the internet. You know what I mean? I ain't know it was gonna be like this like early in the morning. You know? You said that's a good topic? Absolutely. I don't see nothing wrong with complimenting a woman at the end of the day, as long as I'm not lusting after her or anything like that. You understand? Like Gino says, on a video I normally play, you know what I mean? It's easy to find somebody or to look at somebody and they're attractive. You know what I mean? Hey, You know, you like what you like, your eyes. Even married people. You know what I mean? Smith says we call it thirst trap. What is this person talking about? Where do they come up with this type of stuff, man? Bonnie says, I think compliments are okay if they're innocent. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, some people in the churches, you know, they're too over righteous or whatever the case may be. They don't think you even supposed to look at a person. You know what I mean? They don't think you even supposed to, you know, compliment somebody. It's bad. You know what I mean? I think it's okay to compliment a woman. You understand? I don't do it on here. No way. You understand? You know? And these days, you know, you compliment somebody, especially men who compliment women, you know, high percentage of the chances, like the woman gonna think we just want that one thing, which is not the case. You know what I mean? You says I am not. Well, you asked a dumb question that Boolan. That's just a stupid question. Bonnie says we're human. Absolutely. Corinna says people sometimes take compliments as more than just, but a compliment is okay. Absolutely. Absolutely. He says one day you have to decide. No, I won't. No, I won't. You know what I mean? Kind of dumb question was that? Would you prefer to fight a bear-sized chicken? What? That's just a dumb question. Bear-sized chicken. You might as well just said ostrich. Wow. Stupid. You know? Or 10 chicken-sized bears. What kind of dumb question was that, man? Man, what be going through these folks' minds? You know what I'm saying? Man. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning where I'm at, man. You gonna ask a question like that? All right, Bonnie said, sorry to say this, but you can't even compliment some women because they lack love and they're angry all the time. I agree. I agree for sure. You know? Smith says, there's nothing wrong with complimenting and admiration of a woman. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. You know? You said, what is that? Boulan, 67. So I'm guessing you was born in the year of 67. You said, you're easy to offend, right? No room for fun in your life. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Nico says, he says, laughing at angry all the time. Sounds to me like a weak dude who can't put her in her place. Well, what man wants to deal with an angry woman? You understand? All right. You say, yes, sir, I was born in 1967. You're almost 60, right? Smith says, I don't flirt on the job. I charmed him. Check this guy out, man. Check this guy out. Oh, man, Smith is funny. Corinna says, it's about how you say it rather than saying you are so handsome, saying you look nice today. Yeah. Bonnie says, be careful who you compliment. Smith, there's a lot of danger going on these days. Not a problem at Gino P. Nico says, a man that loves aggression and cleanliness, men today are so weak. Aggression? What? What real man loves aggression? Oh, wait. He said aggression. An aggressive woman. Oh, no. Gentleness, meek. You know what I mean? Quiet spirit. Not shy or anything like that. You know what I mean? Not a loud, wicked, evil, ratchet. You said the most aggressive ones usually the loyalists. Nah. No. No way. Nah. I don't think so. No way. No way. You said, what real man loves aggression? Bonnie says, I dislike aggressive people, period. Absolutely. 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 Smith says they might not be in the mood flirt that day because of stuff at home. Here you come flirting with them, they calling HR. You said they calling HR. Wow. I would hate to be in that position, you know. You said, remember, I don't know you, so XX. Nico says, sounds to me like you're both passive. Smith says, got the medicine ball out. Go ahead, now you need an opponent. An opponent. What's up with Jermaine? Shout out to you. Hope all is well. Appreciate that. At Jermaine. Passive, huh? Passive. says got a few more weeks until convocation, for sure. Absolutely. Few more weeks. You know, Gino P says they are out early morning with the trolling. I wasn't expecting that, but you know, that's what a lot of people do. You know what I mean? I see that's a lot of people's hobbies is to troll, which is crazy. Man. You know? You said why so early? Yeah. That's how some people are, you know, in the day. You know, crazy. Which is real crazy for sure. Jared says, I'll try to stay away from complimenting women in the church because you never know who's married. Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's true. You know what I mean? Because remember in holiness that, you know, they teach against rainbow, so, you know what I mean? Sometimes you don't know. You know what I mean? Sometimes you don't know. But if a brother is interested in a sister, of course, you gotta, you know, check the temperature. You gotta check the temperature. For sure. Sister in Christ says, I need that motivation to get to a workout. For sure. For sure, for sure. You know? It's good. You know, I didn't feel like getting up to work out, but still trying to wake up. I'm still trying to wake up, you know. I mean, after this, I gotta go to the supermarket. I'm tired though, but you know, I'm just so tired right now. You know what I mean? And I appreciate y'all for coming on, having a conversation to try to help me, you know, wake up. You know, I'm still not 100% like up. You know, I'm still sleepy. Corinda says, I'm going to get in a ton of walking at the zoo. That's my workout for the day. Smith says, then you don't know how to talk. Gino P said, you definitely need thick skin to run a YouTube platform. Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of people can't handle, you know, having a platform. You know, a lot of people want to be content creators, but they got to know, you know, you're going to go through some stuff. People going to talk about you. They're going to talk about your mother, your kids, all that. You know what I'm saying? What you going to do? Some people have unalived themselves because of social media stuff. Some people get away from social media because they can't take the heat. You know what I mean? That's my fuel. You understand? I find that stuff funny at the end of the day. You know what I mean? It's almost like if you're on a basketball court. I think Kobe said it the best. When people would talk trash or where the fans would boo him, that gives him the fuel, the drive to go, you know, to go even more harder at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So all that stuff that people talking on YouTube as far as like in a negative manner, it's fuel to me. You know what I mean? I enjoy it at the end of the day, but it hurt a lot of people's feelings, those other content creators and stuff like that, because they don't have thick skin. They think because, okay, I put out a couple of videos, everything's gonna be all good, people are gonna like me. Yeah, you might have some people like you, but you're gonna have haters also. It doesn't matter what type of content you put out, you're going to have haters. You're going to have people talking about you, trying to downplay your character, you know what I mean? And you gotta know and learn how to handle those type of things. Otherwise, you know what I mean, it's gonna bother you in the real world, right? So when you turn this camera off, you know what I mean? None of that stuff that people's kicking in a negative manner should be on your mind. You know what I mean? It shouldn't even bother you. You shouldn't lose sleep off of none of that stuff. You know what I mean? So you're absolutely right at Gino P. You know what I mean? Some people can't handle social media. That's why they just rather, you know, talk in the chat rooms or look at posts, look at videos and stuff like that. Smith says, I can compliment a man, wife with him there and not there. You must learn how to talk. Yeah. I mean, you know, yeah. You a slick talker, Smith. You a slick talker. You a slick talker. Smith a slick talker, man. That's that Brooklyn talk, man. That's that Brooklyn talk. Assistant Christ says, maybe you should do workout videos. As far as like pre-recording and stuff like that, I thought about it, you know, but my main camera, the memory card area is like hard to put the memory card back in, so it's like it's an issue. So now, even with this phone, as far as like recording videos, the storage, so you know what I mean. But I did think about it for the most part, you know. And we used to do the workout videos, and maybe we'll test them out again. We'll see. I want to put out boxing videos and whatnot. You know what I mean? So hopefully we can get in tune with that. But I don't know, because based upon my decision, whether I want to stay in North Carolina or go back home, you know what I mean, to New Jersey. You know what I mean? So I don't want to get in tune with a boxing gym too much if I decide to leave, you know? Bonnie says, Tony motivated me. I wasn't thinking about working out. I had to get some strong self-motivation this morning, you know, because I just want to just stay in the bed, eat, just relax, you know? That's what I wanted to do. But I wanted to do a light workout because I had 2 kind of extreme workouts, Monday and Tuesday. I was gonna live stream that, but I just wanted to focus on, you know, my workouts for the most part. So now we're taking it light because we did 2 heavy days already. Corinda says, and you do a good job showing humility on your channel. Not too many do that well. Absolutely, you know what I mean? And one thing about humility, I learned a lot of humility from Gino for the most part, because I was a little hot-headed, you know what I mean, in the beginning stages, and whatnot, coming on, well, putting out the Truth of God videos, and whatnot, you know what I mean? So humility is a great thing to have when you're doing YouTube. for sure, or any social media platform. Absolutely, at Chanel Austin. Absolutely, for sure. Absolutely. You know what I mean? So we're gonna do some pull-ups. I know the pull-up thing, the calisthenics in the parks is big over there in New York. I'm pretty sure Smith, you know about that. P, Bonnie. You know what I mean? Them fellas out there in New York, man, they get them calisthenics in on them bars, at the parks, and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I do a little bit of the pull-ups and stuff like that, but that's not my specialty. You know what I mean? But it's cool though to do the pull-ups. They be doing all those tricks and stuff like that, for sure. You know what I mean? Pull-up bar right here. You know? Smith says, how do you respond when you see them that negative towards you? Let me reread that. How do you respond when you see them that negative towards you? Professionalism. You know what I mean? Professionalism, humility, or having a good sense of humor also. You know what I mean? That's how I look at it as. Knowing how to answer certain things. You know what I mean? Without letting emotions get involved in that. Corinne says, I wish I could do pull-ups. I have zero upper body strength. Well, could take some time. You know what I mean? Start off with a half, then work your way up to one, work your way up to 1.5, 2, and stuff like that. It's a process. You know what I mean? It's a process. You know what I mean? It's always a start, a beginning for something. Workout wise. He said, greetings from Iceland. Shout out to Iceland. Hope all is well. Appreciate you for coming on here for the most part. You said it right, having a good sense of humor. That's the quality of a leader. Absolutely. You know what I mean? People say certain things and whatnot. The internet is crazy. A lot of people say the internet is undefeated. I think the internet is the biggest losers because look what's going on. You know what I mean? It's a bunch of nonsense. It's a bunch of drama, gossip. You know what I mean? That's all people doing. They just love to downplay people. You know what I mean? They also love to kick people while they're down, right? There was a fella recently, I'm pretty sure you heard about it too, Smith. A rapper from LA. You know what I mean? A bully rapper from LA. He blew his hand off, right? For playing with fireworks. You know what I mean? Although he was a knucklehead, or whatever the case may be, a lot of people are laughing at that. You understand? The man blew his hand off from playing with fireworks. And we talked about that the day before, or the day of it happened, for the most part. You know what I mean? So a lot of people, want to kick people while they're down over the internet. And they think it's funny. You know what I mean? Corinna says, best I can do now is a few reps with 10-pound weights. That's fine. That's fine. You know what I mean? Even if it was a half a pound, something is better than nothing at the end of the day. What's up, the Raider? Shout out to you. He says, good morning, Oakland, California, in the house. Health and happiness to you. Appreciate that. Shout out to you. Hope all is well. At Raider out there in California, Oakland. you know, for the most part. You know what I mean? All right, let's get back to these. Then we get back on the bike. Get back on the bike real quick. You know what I mean? Let me get back on the day. Ooh, excuse me. How far is New Jersey from New York? Heard it gets pretty cold up there in New Jersey, right? Well, it depends what part of New Jersey you are. Where I was is in Jersey City, New Jersey. You know what I mean? And it's like a 20-minute drive. 30 or 45 minutes on the PATH train. You know, if you're taking public transportation, 30 to 45 minutes. You know, but most people take the trains. If they're in Jersey City, take the light rail, and they take the PATH train, and you go to West 4th, or 14th Street, or 23rd, or what is that, 33rd or 34th. They drop you off at Times Square. You know, so it depends. Sister in Christ says, if it's some Skittles on here, they are probably drooling. That comment got deleted somehow. It just disappeared. T. Wood says, I can't do pull-ups at all. Doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to try, you know. Jared says, I think you should do a workout class and self-defense class for people in holiness. Well, I thought about that. Actually, me and C-Rock talked about that one time. You know what I'm saying? But it'd be a good thing, especially if I was in that area of Philadelphia and stuff like that. But if you're talking about like online, very interesting. You know what I mean? Very. It's a good idea though. You know, a few people brought that idea up and whatnot. You know what I mean? But we shall see in the future. Self-defense. Should people in holiness study self-defense? That's another good topic. You know? Well, I mean, that's your opinion about him, at Smith, you know. I mean, all I can say is that, you know, we talked about that before, you know, doing a self-defense class for, you know, people in the church and whatnot, stuff like that, you know. I know people have their feelings about it, man, but, you know, hey, you know. Yeah, funny. T. Wood says, I wonder if PJ would be a part of that self-defense class, being that he practiced martial arts at one time. Well, PJ still boxes. You know what I mean? I mean, of course, he ain't gonna show it, whatever the case may be. I know a lot of people would love if, you know, he showed his workouts, but you know what I mean, he still hit the bags and things like that. You know what I mean? And whatnot. You know? Oh man, Smith. What's up to Lorenzo? Shout out to you. Smith, he was crazy, man. Corinna says, I would like to learn self-defense against a home intruder, though, especially while living alone. Well, a lot of women have questions about that if they're single and they live alone, and things like that. Some women in holiness they got firearms. Let's just be real. Some want to learn self-defense, and when you're learning self-defense, like jujitsu or wrestling, you have to be in close combat with somebody, especially in jujitsu. You know what I mean? In jujitsu, learning how to get somebody off you or learn to move, it can be very close quarters. We're talking about a woman on top of you as a man, but you're learning a self-defense move. You understand? Or somebody on top of you. It's like very close quarters when you learn this stuff. You know what I mean? Wrestling, jujitsu, and things like that. And that's the only way you really going to learn something. So it's recommended if a sister got a husband, you practice those moves together. You know what I mean? Now, I don't know how the rules are if you are single or whatever the case may be. Could you study those moves? You know what I mean? Because I can't teach somebody how to get somebody off them without really demonstrating it. You understand? So it's really close quarters when you learn self-defense. You can learn the boxing, the kicking, the stand-up takedowns and stuff like that. But when you're on the ground, very close quarters. Bonnie says, I would attend a self-defense class with Tony. I'm a female weaker than a man. I should know how to defend myself if the church brothers are not around. Some women also carry pepper spray, bear spray, tasers, and things like that, and whatnot. But it's good to learn certain self-defense moves, and whatnot. T. Woods, you talking to Smith? Corinna says, my family keep telling me to get a firearm. I have never wanted to own one. I would be too scared to shoot it. Wow. Some people go to the fire range, to the gun range and stuff like that. And just to learn, they may not have a firearm, but they just want to learn the whole science to certain firearms and things like that, the safety measures. There's people in holiness that has firearms, but for hunting purposes only. Corinna says, a lady told me once to put some oil and pepper in a spray bottle and spray someone in their eyes. Well, you might as well get pepper spray. You know what I mean? You might as well get pepper spray, if one's going to do that. You know what I mean? It's more powerful than that. You know what I mean? It's more effective. Because the pepper and the oil, it may burn a person's eyes, but pepper spray could do more damage. It has more of a defensive mechanism, you know what I mean? As far as it can affect your breathing, your eyes, it can burn your skin, whereas though just pepper and oil, it just can, that's it. You know what I mean? Whereas though pepper spray has more effectiveness in other areas on the body. Ain't pepper spray illegal in some states? I guess it depends on the amount. The amount also, Or they going back and forth. Smith, and T. Wood. Smith 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 and T. Wo You know, some people use pepper spray for wildlife. You know, if you in the Carolinas and you live in a certain area, you might be around an area with bears and coyotes and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's not just with people, but it's with wildlife. What you gonna do? You know what I mean? You can't, what you gonna say is scripture if a bear appears? If you walk into your car in the morning for work and you got possums and raccoons and bears and coyotes and foxes and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Listen, folks could say what they want to say in the churches and whatnot, but nah. You know what I mean? No way. You understand? No, no. You know what I mean? No way. He says, I just keep praying God has been my protector for sure. Yeah, that's true. Remember, he also said it rains on the just and unjust. You know what I mean? So if a person is living in an area, you know what I mean, you can't be walking out like nothing can't happen. You know what I mean? You can't walk out like that. You know what I mean? That's one thing. Even when I went to the zoo with my kids last year, you know what I'm saying? I didn't trust nothing about that zoo. You know what I mean? I know I prayed and stuff like that, but you never know. It might be an employee who's upset, angry, that he got fired or about to get fired and let all the lions out to the people, because people do that. People do that. You understand? Corinna says, my granny used to keep her firearm in case we seen a rattlesnake. She said that the best way to handle those things. Wow. Yeah. Gotta do what you gotta do. You know what I mean? Especially in areas with bears. You know what I mean? One thing about the South, they got some bears out here. You know what I mean? I ain't finna box no bear or nothing like that. I'm not about to do that. Coretta says, don't say that while I'm on the way to the zoo. I'm going to be looking. I was at an outside zoo, so I don't know how it is where you're going. You know, they had elephants like just so huge. I've never seen elephants that big. You know what I mean? They were just so huge. You know what I mean? Like project building. Like a project building. That's how big this elephant was. You know what I mean? Elephants, they had rhinos, they had I think did they have lions? I'm not sure. They had monkeys, they had gorillas. Just crazy stuff. And you know, I think a situation happened in PA one time where as though the parent, she put the baby to sit on a ledge. Who does that? And the baby fell, and the wild dogs, you know, had their way on the baby. Paulette says it's 3 a.m. Oh yeah, where you at? You says over here, I see you up real early. Yeah, it's a day off. So I thought I'd get up, go for a workout. T. Wood says, I saw a video, a hyena hid itself in a dead elephant body hiding from a lion. That's how huge elephants is. That's pretty funny. See bears in the yard all the time. I'm from the country for real. Hmm. Hawaii. Hmm. Corinna says, what does the number 3 icon mean? Lorenzo said it's 1,500 hours here in South Africa. These time zones are crazy. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. You know? Smith says, I will be in Kenya in October. That's what's up. You know what I mean? I see Smith, you love traveling, man. Yeah, man. I don't know how you do it on them airplanes, man. I can't do that. No way. You know what I mean? You said I hope. Oh man, they going back and forth. Smith, you got you on that. Oh, they having a joke about it. I think it's tied up right now. Think we about to wrap it up. So I'm shadow boxing with this guy. Oh man, you're funny. He says we having something tonight, Lord willing. Oh, for sure. Yeah, Lord willing. You know, we'll see. We'll see what we having tonight. You know, so we're gonna wrap this thing up. I hope everybody have a wonderful morning. You know what I mean? Get your breakfast, whatever the case may be. It was good, you know, chatting with your guys in this morning for the most part. And Lord willing, we'll be on tonight with some more good conversation. Tony Harvin signing off. God bless. I'm out. Peace.